scheme is a famous one. I'm sure you've heard of at least one such case, or maybe you haven't. Well, in simplest terms, what a Ponzi scheme does is you, being the scammer, get investments from a group of people, let's call them Group A, and in return, you promise them, okay, I'm gonna give you double the money or 1.5 times, or you're getting an exclusive in on a deal, or some other kind of reward that's too good to be true. Once you've gotten that money and you've promised your investors, you go to another set of people and get money from them to return to the first group. And then you keep doing this till, well, eventually someone gets caught, or, well, you decide to run away, which is usually what happens, leaving all the investors in a financial loss. So this guy is Charles Ponzi, the forever famous guy for starting a rather lucrative scam. He promised clients a 50% profit within 45 days and 100% profit within 90 days by buying discounted postal reply coupons in other countries and redeeming them at face value in the US. Obviously, he was doing none of it and it was just a Ponzi scheme, but he earned a lot of money. In 1920, he was caught owing $7 million. But returning to present, let me quickly tell you a story about it. So we had this guy in a town. Someone in my extended family was living in this town, and he promised that he'd return 2x the money. So some people in the community, they weren't that educated. They gave him the money and he did return 2x investment. So the rest of the people thought, okay, my friend gave him the money and he returned him that money and like things like that. But so everyone, like however much they could gather, they just gave to that guy, and what ended up happening was then he ran away, which is usually what happens, leaving people pretty miserable. And another example is something a friend mentioned. It was, they said that they bought crops in their on season and then they sold the crops in their off season. So this sounds like, oh, okay, that makes sense, but they would say that so there's no possibility of a loss. Obviously, no one was considering the storage costs and everything else. But they promise, and the first time they do deliver, and then the second time when you give them more money, they again ran away. So there's that. There's another example of Ponzi schemes where Poppy Lifton in the Gossip Girl used that. And well, she got caught. And yes, I do watch Gossip Girl, or I have watched it. Anyways, recently there's a lot of trend in the virtual currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're said to be more secure, less controlled by the government, etc. So in one of these, I heard something along the lines of, hey, you can get in on this really, really exclusive cryptocurrency. And the interesting part was it came from someone I personally knew, and I'm pretty sure she was like just passing it on, and it promised, okay, this is going to be a game changer. And I checked it out, I researched it a little bit. There were a lot of investors there, they had legitimate looking websites, and everything seemed like, wow, if you get in on this virtual currency, you're gonna make it. Obviously, it turned out to be a fraud, and I'm pretty sure my friend who recommended it has lost money. So there's that. And then there are like the usual ones where, okay, pay me 0.01 in Ethereum or Bitcoin and double it, or I would return you this much. So there's those kind of scams. But why am I telling you this? You're obviously smart. You're not gonna fall for it. You're an educated or street smart person who never falls for it. You critically think. Except only in the first half of 2022, 26 schemes schemes were uncovered. There's this site called ponzitracker.com, go check it out, which is 3.6 billion investor funds. And that's larger than the last time Ponzi schemes were on the rise, i.e. 2010 and prior. So that's a lot of loss. Even if like you're not gonna fall for it, someone in your family, seniors or someone else, extended family, may be someone who falls for it. And these things don't get talked about a lot, so it's a good idea to just keep invested into those. And 2021, on the other hand, happened to be an all-time low, so that's interesting. Apparently we're not getting smarter, or maybe the scammers are. Anyways, SCC is a good place to report it if you suspect a Ponzi scheme, and suspecting is enough of a reason to go and report it. So a couple of things to look out for. Investments that only have profits or no risk, because that's not how businesses work, that's not how stocks work, that's not how investments work. Okay, so don't invest in anything that seems to be overly optimistic. Be also a bit skeptical of overly secretive or complex strategies. From someone who has degrees in multiple complex fields, nothing in investment is so complicated that you can't explain to a layman, especially if you're asking for their money. Okay, then there's the obvious one that if you're having difficulty receiving payment, or you suspect that the paperwork isn't right and it's not registered, you can find information on it on the internet about it, well, it's probably not legitimate. What not to do is rely on the word of mouth, because you don't want to get dragged down into a scam even if people around you may believe it. Okay, the pyramid scams and Ponzi schemes rely a lot on this bandwagon effect. Okay, if you get enough people on board, then the rest of them would get on board. What also not to do is not do proper research, or not check the paperwork, or just like basically if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Anyways, that was on Ponzi schemes. Tell me if you liked it. What would you like to know more? Anyways, stay tuned.